Hello neurotypicals and dyspraxics. Just wanted to give you a quick update on things going on in my life lately. I've been a little sick lately, feeling better, but my voice may sound a little bit strained. Not a whole lot has changed, but as you can see, the most noticeable difference is that I shaved a little bit. Trimmed my full bushy beard down to a cut little Van Dyke, one of my favorite facial hairstyles. I wore this style once during a play called Crimes of the Heart, and I liked it. I actually had my director of that show recommend I trim my beard down to it, and it was just a look that I was comfortable with. It made me look younger and older at the same time, unlike a goatee, which just makes me look kind of like a creep. No offense to others with goatees, it works for some people very well, but I feel like it's more of a look for middle-aged men, and I'm not quite there yet. But a Van Dyke is a comfortable look for me, and it allows most of my face to breathe. Also, I got brownies! I'm gonna go ahead and eat one right now. Mmm, these are good. Speaking of brownies, another change is recently I started going to the gym again. I just started recently, so there hasn't been much change, but hopefully I'll start getting in better shape. This will allow me to be more comfortable with my body, and perhaps it'll greatly impact my mental health in a positive way. Last time I went to the gym regularly, I would often talk to my girlfriend on the phone as I worked out. So admittedly, it has been a little bit challenging for me to not think about her while I go. But hey, what better way of dealing with that than working out? I'm still working on new videos. I'm trying to take time writing a few new ones, but I wanted to give a little update in the meantime. There's some major ones that I wanted to make, so I wanted to take time to write them out to the best of my ability. I'm hoping to film videos at a quicker pace so that I can upload them more regularly. I realize that I've had a few setbacks with my videos in the past, but going forward, I'm looking forward to what I might bring you. I'm still unsure of how I want to incorporate music into my videos. A few of the videos that I made before had a little background music to add some substance to it. And though I've tried to make sure that it hasn't overshadowed what is being said, a couple of people have complained about it. Part of it is the editing software that I use, which I admit isn't very good when it comes to audio effects. So I may drop music altogether. I guess we'll see. I'm still working at Walmart, of course. I mentioned in my first episode that I moved to the front end, but some things have kind of come up and I realized that it wasn't what I was hoping for. I'm still working at Walmart, of course. I mentioned in my first episode that I moved to the front end, but some things have kind of come up and I realized that it wasn't what I was hoping for. I worked in OGP, which is online grocery, and although I didn't really like the physical labor of it or the working in tight spaces, the people I worked with and the managers were a lot easier to work with as opposed to the CSMs, customer service managers, who have pretty much decided to hate me right off the bat. It kind of started with me allegedly taking too long on my breaks, though in actuality it was because they required me to type in 10 action code on my register before I signed off to go to break. And when I would leave, then I would usually have stuff that I'd have to put in returns or even log certain items left behind in the bad book, as they called it, which is just a book documenting items that have been paid for by the customers but were left behind. I would do these things after entering 10 action code before going on my break, and I never really included the time it took to get to the back and the time it took to return as part of my break. So I usually officially started my break once I got to the back room. But to the CSMs, my break starts when I put in 10 action code. So in their eyes, I was taking too long on my break. I guess even though I'm still doing work in their eyes, I'm on break, and on my third day I got threatened with a coaching. But considering they almost never put me on self-checkout, and part of the reason why I enjoyed it so much at my last store is because I just adored the people that I worked with. And since I took a pay cut for this, it's just not worth it. Anyway, that's what's been going on, and there's a possibility I may go back to my old position, which I'm fine with. Actually, if I get in better shape from going to the gym, it may make the physical aspect of the job more tolerable. Or I may be sore a lot and end up feeling 10 times worse. Oh well, YOLO! I know I seem a bit more positive, but I'm not going to lie, it is still hard. It's a struggle every day, especially when you feel lost and hurt by things in the past, and daily struggles like dealing with dyspraxia. Just the other day I was chatting with a fellow cashier, and he admitted to me that he suffered from cerebral palsy. He hides it pretty well. I mean, there's certain things about him that make a lot more sense now that I know, but I related to him and I told him that I suffer from dyspraxia. Of course, he didn't really know what that was, but he and I spoke about our mutual difficulties and how every day is different. Like some days are better than others. So it was nice to be able to relate to someone on some level, though I'm not comparing dyspraxia with cerebral palsy. It still kind of sucks because I'm 24 now and I'm still not any closer to realizing any of my dreams. And I just wish I didn't have to be stuck doing this kind of work. I would do really well working in entertainment, but it's not really an option for me right now considering my current situation. I also wish I could do theater again, but the past 3 auditions I went to I didn't really get a part in. The first one was the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, where I tried out for the role of Leif. I would have been perfect for that part, and I absolutely killed it at the audition. And I was sure I would get it because it was between me and this other guy, and the other guy just wasn't right for it. But surprisingly, he ended up getting the part. It blew me away until I realized that the director was one of my mother's former theater students, and according to her, was a real problem in her class. She told me he was always acting up and had a bad attitude, and did not like her very much, and she assured me that she was the reason I was passed over for the part. Well, great. The next show I tried out for was at this little tea shop downtown. I forget the name of it, but I was referred to it by this guy I knew at my bank, and he suggested I tried out for a show they were doing, which was being directed by his parents. So I called his mother and set up an audition later that evening after work. Of course, once I got there, the audition was very strange, and I just didn't feel right with it. I met his mother, who I spoke to on the phone, and then met his father, who I was absolutely sure was gay. I try not to make that kind of assumption, but everything about this guy made it seem so much like it. He was like a walking stereotype, with the high lisp and the tight pants. I was absolutely shocked when I realized that he was her husband. I started off by performing a song, tried to do a song from White Christmas, the last show I did, but I couldn't find the backing track with just the music, and so I ended up just singing an Elton John song instead, which was kind of odd, especially since it was the song Sweet Painted Lady, which is, I'm pretty sure, about prostitution. Then they had me learn a dance choreography, which, for a dyspraxic, was kind of tricky to learn. I ended up picking it up very roughly, but I was kind of thrown off by the dad's tight pants, which really caused his ass to pop out as he was shaking it. It distracted me and made me feel uncomfortable. Then I learned part of one of the songs for the show and read some scenes with one of the other actors, this young guy who had this bustling confidence without any kind of skill whatsoever. Very typical of small-town community theater actors. You could tell he had just been doing it long enough to feel like he knew what he was doing. But once he read, it was just like, well, what we have here is a murder. Oh, by the way, it was a Wild West murder mystery show, and we were to use the audience as suspects. It reminded me too much of that one episode of Malcolm in the Middle where they had those actors at the ranch getting into people's faces and just being all around over the top and obnoxious. This seemed very much the same kind of thing. A few more people showed up and started dancing to some music, following their fruity dad as he shaked his ass around. It was just very off-putting, and I just kind of sat by the edge of their stage watching them as I waited for my ride. Once I left, I just didn't feel good about it, and I never heard from them since. The third show I tried out for was the 39 Steps, which was directed by the same guy who directed the children's show I was just involved with as the stage manager. I was really hopeful that I might get a part in this one, but ultimately, as I was sick and still trying to deal with a lot of personal stuff, I didn't really do as good as I could have. And considering everyone else who tried out was already well known by the director, I very much expected not to get the part. And he ended up calling me a few days later, informing me as such. There's an audition for a show on October the 1st, which I'm really hopeful for. But I'm not going to really count my lucky stars. It sucks because I haven't really had a real acting role since last December. And I'm so eager to get back into the craft because it's one of my favorite things to do. I haven't really written much in a while these days, apart from my vlogs. I want to start a new screenplay, but I'm not really wanting to commit to something so major right away when I'm not so focused. I should get back into songwriting again, but it's hard to motivate myself with that either. I have written a few songs the past couple of days though, so hopefully I'm starting to gain some momentum and maybe I'll be able to start doing it again. Some of my songs are still being put to music by my composer friend Matt. I'd love to share some of our music, but none of it has been officially released yet. And if I did, it would kind of expose my real identity. And for right now, I just kind of want to remain anonymous. Which is probably pointless, and word will probably come out anyway, but I'm just going to stick for that for now. Okay? Also, one more thing I want to throw in, because I know most of the people who have been watching these videos have been watching them because of the topic of dyspraxia, which I said I would be talking about. Some have been confused because not every video has tied in with that, and not every video is going to. I would love to talk more about dyspraxia, and I plan to talk about it quite a bit. But the truth is, it's just one aspect of my life, an aspect that affects a lot of it, but it wouldn't be interesting to only talk about that. There's a lot more to who I am as a person than dyspraxia, which is one thing I want to demonstrate. So if you're dyspraxic and you want to see more videos of me talking about the condition, then don't worry, I will. But just bear in mind that these videos cover a different range of topics, and I won't always be talking about that. That being said, I would love to talk more about it with other people who have dyspraxia, and I'm always up for a back and forth discussion for anyone who's interested in having one. Gotta get more content for my channel, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's all for now. That's all I've been up to lately. Keep watching for future videos. I have several I'm kind of writing at the moment, so look out for those. Janai!